All right. So hopefully the audio came through good on that intro because I really like that song. So what I'm Hotel Nerd,
And I'm John from Movie Loves Unite.
and we're going old school today. We have nobody lined up to do interview with, so we're just going to talk about news, and there's a lot of it. If you looked at my Twitter account earlier today, the official Twitter account for Hotel Nerd, uh, there's a huge rundown. So uh, we're just going to jump right into it, and we're going to talk about some uh, housekeeping things that need to be tended to real quick. And that's next week. We will not be doing a live show. We will be doing a pre-recorded event due to the fact of my work schedule, because my work schedule is just in chaos right now, as is John's. So it's just easier to do pre-record. So, and that'll be it'll be interview set up. It'll be me interviewing John. So we look forward to that one. John, do you have anything in housekeeping to do?
No, not too much. You just mentioned everything that you were going to do and everything. I'm just excited that you want to do the one-on-one and get people to, get to know me a little bit better as a co-host, and also as for someone that does Movie Loves Unite on my podcast. So I do appreciate you doing that.
Yeah, not a problem. You're the reason why I got into this realm. Honestly, you're the one that introduced me to Collider years ago, and for some reason, I got the podcast bug, and here we are. So, trying to make it in a big ocean.
Oh, there is one little minor thing. Like, next month will be a year that I'll be doing my podcast. So,
congrats!
Tamika will actually be interviewing me on my podcast.
Very nice.
So, we'll have a little bit of that. Huh?
We both have anniversaries next month. Mine's 1 year for working at the hotel, and yours is 1 year for doing podcasts.
Awesome. Congratulations on your 1 year.
Yeah, I'll actually have vacation time for once.
But another thing, too, is I might actually have someone from JoeBlow.com coming in sometime maybe next week or sometime in the future talking about Jaws, doing a Jaws review.
Hey.
So I'm hoping.
Talking about anniversaries, 45 years, man.
Exactly. And that's actually one of my favorite movies of all time is Jaws. But aside from The Crow. But Jaws is actually up there.
You're trying to get Professor Crow on here, aren't you?
That would be okay with me. I could use a good yelling.
Oh man, I would love to get Christian on here and have him do Professor Crow. I love that character so much. That's got to be my favorite character that he does, honestly.
Mine too. Aside from the Arnold impressions and, Al Pacino.
So, with all that being said, we are going to move right into the lead, which is theaters are planning to reopen amid crisis, and get your opinions on it. John, I'll let you go first because you actually called this one. You called this one square on the button.
Right. I ended up saying that all movie theaters would actually open up on July 15th. And guess what, Neo? You're not the one. I'm the one. So go on ahead, walk off the movie set and everything. I'm actually the one right now because I am the Oracle. I'm the one who called the fact that movie theaters are going to be opening up on July 15th. At that time, I was like, you know what? Everybody was actually staying indoors all that time, too. So I was thinking, okay, we're staying safe with this thing. We're actually keeping the distance and everything. We're using our hand sanitizers. We're using our masks. And we also saw a decline in the curve during that time period where nobody went out or did anything. Now that this whole entire pandemic has opened up the gates for people to go on ahead and go out again and stuff like that, it's just like that mayor from Jaws is like, oh, you guys can go out and everything. Everything's perfectly fine. But there's a shark out there. No, there's no shark. There's no pandemic going on. We're just going to go on ahead and let the virus take your life. That's all. But with this whole entire thing, though, I think it's not the right time to actually opening up the theaters on July 15th because of the fact that the curve is actually being increased again. It's not actually lightening the curve at all. It's actually stupid to go ahead and open up movie theaters during this time, even though I predicted the fact that movie theaters would actually open up during this time. And I was actually one of the ones who was actually optimistic. But now I even have to go on ahead and agree that this is actually too soon to actually open up since, we're having an incline on people that are actually getting sick, dying from this virus again. The numbers keep on going up every single year. So I think it's actually pretty stupid to actually do something like this.
When you say every single year, I'm assuming you meant to say every single day.
Every single day. Yeah. Sorry. I feel like, you know what? It actually does feel like a year if you think about it.
Oh, I know. Working at the hotel, it feels like it's been 10 years. But, yeah, my big thing about it is AMC came out and said they didn't want to get into political discussion about the masks, so they weren't going to force the mask to be an issue, which actually is them getting political about the mask because they took a side. So either way you look at it, you got political. And I mean, sorry shape of the world that we're in now, that wearing a mask determines what your politics are. That it's like blows my mind.
And I feel like that they do. I feel like this. You need to have your mask on during watching a movie. And I was like, well, how am I going to eat my popcorn and drink my soda? Okay, you're a dumbass if you don't know how to have common sense. All you do is pull your mask down for a minute, stuff some popcorn in your mouth, drink some soda, put your mask back up again, and then keep on repeating the same thing over again until you're full on your popcorn or your soda. It's not that hard. It's not rocket science. It's common freaking sense that God created you to actually have, but I guess some of you actually don't have common sense.
Well, I do have to say that AMC did backtrack after social media pressure, and they did say that they are going to require masks for all patrons and workers. At least that's the last that I heard, unless they changed something. Regal also came out today, and they said the same thing. So they caved to public pressure. So I do have to throw that in there. I still don't agree with it. I mean, I know, Larry, you work at a movie theater. What do you think? Do you feel comfortable going back to work, considering that we're having a ramp up in certain states? I mean, I know not every state is. Pennsylvania, we're holding steady, if not on the slight decline, because we keep bouncing. The lowest number I've seen is 384 for a daily case announcement, and then today it was like 504, 506, something like that. We keep bouncing between the 380s and the 500s. So we're kind of in that peak valley scenario where we're basically we're treading water right now. But Larry, I would love for you to chime in because I know you're here. I would love to get your opinion because you work there. You work in the theater industry. I work in the hotel industry, so I'm sure it's different. John, you work in the medical industry. You're having an issue right now at work that I'm not going to get involved in on.
Right.
It's just, I guess it's personal preference is what it's going to boil down to.
Well,
and Larry actually did respond. Larry did respond. If it was up to me, test the waters, Lieutenant, then shut it down to the next round of blockbusters, I think, in September. And then he goes on to say, I'm okay with going to work now. Depends on how the standards will be. So that's coming straight from somebody that actually works in the theater industry.
Okay.
But like you said, it depends. Go ahead.
Right. Sorry. Basically, what I want to say too is the fact that over at my theater, the theater that's like 15, 20 minutes away, they're actually having it to where for $40 you can actually book a private auditorium just for you or your family for $40 where you don't have to worry about the public. So I'm like, okay, $40, that's not bad for an auditorium just for yourself, you know? And then of course they're having it to where you can actually skip a couple of seats too.
Yeah.
So there's that. But I agree with Larry though too. Just open it up for a couple of days for Tenet and then close it back up. And then when you have another big release, opening it, maybe you can actually open it up and then close it back up again.
Yeah, it just shows you the power that Nolan has. For Nolan to be able to flex his muscles and say, "Hey, I want this movie out in theaters. Don't you dare put it on streaming services." It shows you the power that he has within the industry. Anybody that thinks that Nolan don't have power, I mean, there's two people I would say right now that has power. I mean, other than your typical names of Spielberg and Cameron, is you're looking at Nolan and you're looking at yeah. Damn it, I'm pulling a J Wade here. I lost it. I can't think of the second name I was thinking of. I'll think of it later.
Okay. But yeah, Christopher Nolan does definitely have a lot of pull, especially whenever you have Juggernaut films that he made billions off of with Warner Brothers. You have Inception, you have the Batman trilogy, you have a lot of the other films that Dunkirk. The list just goes on all the films that Nolan has actually made. So it's no wonder why WB actually gives him the control that he actually has, because they know that a Christopher Nolan film is actually going to make money. And because it's going to make money, they know for a fact that people will go out and see his movie. There's that box office draw. But now this pandemic's going on and Nolan is still pushing for it. So I'm not sure if this thing is going to make as much money as Nolan is actually thinking it's going to make, regardless of the fact that Warner Brothers actually has faith in him and what he can do.
Yeah, the second name I was thinking of was Snyder, because Snyder's getting his Justice League cut. So, I mean, that just shows you, and that's not just so much his power as it is the power of him and the cast and the fandom behind that. But
True.
You want to talk about powerhouses, people that have influence on the way things are done. Those are the four names I'd be thinking of: Spielberg, Nolan, Cameron, Snyder. Those are the ones I think of right now.
I can see that. So anything else that you want to add to that? Or
no, I mean, unless somebody in the comments has something that they want to chime in on, I think we pretty much got that covered up with our opinions there. So our next topic is that The Walking Dead Season 10 finale is being teased to air very, very soon. Be careful when you're looking for this, because I stumbled across something that I wish that I didn't know, because I hit a big potential spoiler, and I understand why they would be doing what they want to do, but I don't like the idea. But I get it, considering where the next story arc is going to go. So, all right. But I'm trying to think of how I can say things without potentially being that guy, because I know it and I don't want to say it.
But is it a character that we knew from season 1?
No. But
okay,
it's a big one. It's a big one.
Okay.
I'll say that. And I know about a month ago they went and said that we're going to have a bloodbath, which, I mean, all things considered, the way that things are laid out for the final episode of season 10, I don't know if you're caught up or not, but it's
no, I'm not.
Dire straits. let's just say that.
I'm still in the process of trying to get caught up and everything, but I've been busy with stuff, so
Yeah, I can't really elaborate anymore without opening my mouth and spoiling shit. So I'm going to stop right there. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I made a promise that when I read it that I wasn't going to do it. So I'm not going to pull an old school John Schnepp and spoil it for people. So trying to think anything else I wanted to say about that. Oh, they said that they had like Angela Kang came out and said they had like a week or two worth of work to do yet post production, and they would be ready to go. And they went back into posts on the 12th, which would have been a little over a week ago. So by that schedule, if it's a week or two, by this Friday, they should be done in post. And the end of Comic-Con is the 26th of July, which is on a Sunday. And there's rumored to be a Walking Dead panel sometime during Comic-Con. They're still planning on doing one. I could see them dropping the finale during the panel, saying, here's the news, here's what we're doing, this is where we're getting ready to go, and saying, oh yeah, by the way, here's the finale, have fun, and just air it on live stream and then air it on TV almost back to back immediately. That or do a simulcast, one or the other.
right.
I mean, that's just my me as a fan. That's me hoping.
Well, for me and everything, I mean, I'm thrilled that they're actually going to be doing it and everything. It's just that I wish I could have that excitement of actually being caught up with it, so I can actually be more excited for it. But for right now, I'm not that excited because of the fact I haven't kept up with it like I wanted to. So I think I might be more optimistic. Huh?
Where did you cut off at?
What do you mean?
Like where did you stop watching? Was it when Negan showed up?
No. I'm actually caught up on. I'm actually on season 10. I'm just not.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I haven't watched any of season 10. Hardly.
All right.
So that's where I'm at.
Oh, season 10.
So,
season 10 is wrong. Like
the last. I have to go back and remember where Tamika and I actually left off at. I think once I pull up the AMC app, I'll be able to know. But the last thing I watched before Tamika told me and I started watching it was the part where Alpha's looking up at Carol, and that was it.
That would have been the mid-season finale. You ended it.
No, that was like
where they're looking over the plane from each other. Carol's up here and Alpha's down here, and she's looking up at her, and she's like, "What the fuck are you doing on my land?" Is that episode 3?
Yeah, that was like episode. Yeah, that was like episode 3.
Oh shit, that was. You're right, because that was after the satellite.
Yeah, that was like
after
the
satellite. The fire out. Okay.
Yep. So yeah. But like I said, I want to be excited. I want to be optimistic about it. But right now, I think once I get caught up, I think I might actually have that same level of excitement and everything. It's just right now, I'm kind of like on a medium level of excitement. So I think once I get finished watching it and everything, I think I might actually be okay.
I would say this much about season 10. The front half is all lead up, and the back half is cliffhanger after cliffhanger after cliffhanger.
All right.
So, but they're good cliffhangers. Like, people have issues with cliffhangers generally, but they're really good cliffhangers. Everything has resolution. Every single cliffhanger is a resolution point.
I'm okay with cliffhangers as long as it actually leads up to something. Because you know how certain cliffhangers don't lead up to anything hardly.
Yeah, like don't do the Negan cliffhanger at the end of season 6 leading into 7. That was a very poor choice. But yeah, short of going into spoiler territory on that, I can't really divulge much more, unfortunately, because if I do, I'm going to hang myself because I don't want to be that guy.
Exactly.
So on to movie news. And Larry, I saw it was your first comment in here. Sir Ian Holm passed away on Friday night. If you have watched Lord of the Rings, you know him as Bilbo. And if you've watched The Fifth Element, he is also the monk, which I did not realize. So, and I realized that as I was looking for a picture of him, so that way I could show people. And this is the picture I came up with. So, obviously, that's from Lord of the Rings, and I need to get rid of that banner. So, yeah, Sir Ian Holm succumbed to basically old age this past Friday. Unfortunately, great actor, really, really great actor. I still blows my mind that I didn't realize that he was the monk from Fifth Element.
Really?
Yeah. I looked it up, and he's the monk from the Fifth Element. So
that's what he was. I forgot all about that.
That's Sir Ian Holm.
I forgot all about that. I just knew him from Lord of the Rings, and that was it. I didn't put two and two together.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite movies too.
Yeah, Brandy just said that too, that it's one of favorite movies. I wouldn't say it's in my favorite movie category. I could watch it just like as a popcorn flick, just to escape reality. It's not in my top 10 films that I would pop in to escape reality, to be absolutely honest. But it's a good film. It's in my top 20.
I gotcha.
I would say I would even go as far as say it's in my top 15.
For me, it was in my top 10 sci-fi movies, or part of Frenchie's top 10 sci-fi movies when we did it. When we did our sci-fi. I
actually have never made a top 10 science fiction list before. I'll have to do that.
It's actually pretty challenging because I'm like, okay, well, I like this movie here, but then I find something else, and I'm like, okay, I need to find something else to top this. And I was removing stuff, adding stuff, and then finally I had my top 10 list. But, so with movie news and everything, we have Hugh Jackman and Michael Mann reviving a Ferrari biopic. So basically, this film is going to be in the summer of 1957 when Enzo Ferrari found himself at a professional and personal crossroads. He was on the verge of bankruptcy, his marriage was crumbling, and the pressure was on for the Imagine to dominate the brutal Miller Margiela race across Italy. So it sounds like powerful stuff, following Black Hat's Historias, and, in my opinion, unearned reception. So I think that this is actually going to be a pretty good biopic compared to Ford versus Ferrari, which I think all we're getting from Ford versus Ferrari is just the two cars just competing against each other, what they put into the car, the engine, the torque, everything that it goes into building a car, versus what is actually about the actual person. So I'm perfectly fine with Hugh Jackman being the Michael being the person who actually made Ferrari, and I'm also excited because of the fact that we actually dive into his life, especially in 1957, and we actually get to see him make a 1957 Ferrari while he's also battling with the pressures of being in bankruptcy and also his marriage collapsing. So I'm actually excited to see what this movie's actually going to look like.
Now,
what about you?
I haven't seen Ford versus Ferrari yet. I definitely want to. I haven't got around to it yet. It's definitely in my top 5, maybe even top 3 list of movies that I need to watch. Because it got overshadowed for me by 1917 because I just fell in love with 1917. My first question is this Ferrari's spin on Ford versus Ferrari? Because my understanding is Ford versus Ferrari was Ford's take on that rivalry. So is this Ferrari's take on the rivalry from their angle? And yes, Brandy Hugh Jackman is an excellent actor.
Actually, 1957 is when he was going bankrupt, and this one is in Ford versus Ferrari. You're dealing with stuff that happened in 1966, so that's when they wind up having the battle between Ford versus Ferrari. Is in 1966 in France.
So this predates that then.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. I like that idea. I haven't seen Ford versus Ferrari or anything like that either. I was just going based off what I saw.
Okay.
And I kind of figured that, it was going to be just about 2 people competing against each other, and Ford versus Ferrari, where you don't have a lot of detail into their lives. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited to actually dive into the maker of Ferrari and see when he actually went through and everything in 1957. That's my curiosity.
Yeah.
With that.
Yeah, because that was immediately where my brain went. It's like, so it's interesting. We got one perspective from the Ford angle, so I would think that this would be the Ferrari angle, but if it predates that, it completely shoots that idea out of the water.
Right. So, this is a total biopic. Yeah.
Cool. Well, maybe they'll touch on it then. Maybe if it's a complete biopic, maybe they'll touch on it.
What I would like to see is, with the biopic, tie Ford versus Ferrari into it at the very end.
Is it the same studio?
That I don't know if it is or not.
If it's the same studio, that would work.
Right. They could tie it in. I mean, they could just do a time jump.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why you couldn't, because it's still dad pun here for Father's Day. By the way, happy Father's Day to everybody, all the fathers out there. But it's in the wheelhouse.
Definitely.
Yeah, I know. Bad pun. Larry, you don't have to tell me. I know, bad pun.
Let's see. Then we also have Edgar Wright attached to direct the Chain adaptation. So, Deadline was the one who originally reported it, and it's based on the report. Will be directing the adaptation of Adrian McCarthy's best-selling 2019 novel, The Chain. The film, which is being penned by Jane Goldman, tells the story of Rachel, who learns that her 11-year-old daughter has been kidnapped and is forced to kidnap another child to rescue her, with those parents having to kidnap another child for Rachel's daughter to be released. If neither Rachel nor the parents of the child she kidnaps go through with it, Rachel's daughter will be murdered, making her part of the chain, a terrifying and malicious chain letter kidnapping scheme turning parents from victims to criminals. So what do you think of that idea with Edgar Wright? Because, Edgar Wright's always about some cheesiness when it comes down to some of his movies, especially when you look at Baby Driver on some level. Because I enjoy Baby Driver a lot, but you can definitely tell that he loves the cheese. Huh?
I like the idea that they take the chain letter concept and they use it basically in the human trafficking sense. That's an interesting take. And I feel...
Right.
that this film could take one of two roads. It could be an action horror or a thriller horror. Because anytime you kidnap a kid, in my mind, that's immediately, and this is talking as a parent, this is a horror-filled scenario. It's the worst imaginable case scenario for any parent. So
I agree.
That's just where my brain goes.
Right, and then you also have the parents kidnapping another child in order to get another child back.
Yep.
If that child doesn't get rescued or anything like that, then they're stuck in that chain. And I like the whole entire thriller concept of that. Like, you have some, like, the links that you would actually go through to try and get your child back. And then you actually have to do something dark and corrupt to try and get your child, get that other person's child back too. So, I mean, I really love that whole entire concept.
Yeah,
You know?
It kind of has like a Saw feel to it, where you're basically playing a game to make something come out of it, like to the good. I'm totally way off base, even attaching the Saw movies to this in my head, but it's just where my
It does
brain
have that
goes.
concept.
Like I can't help it.
It's
just in my mind,
because, like I said,
my worst, that is my biggest fear, is something happening to my kids. It just, you could do anything to me. My worst fear is my kids. You mess with my kids, I have no idea what I'll do. It's just, I'm not sure if I feel that way because I'm a parent, or if I would always have felt that way. Because I'm always protective of children, whether they're mine or not.
Right, you just have that instinct about you to where you want to take charge and want to actually do something that's actually right and noble. That's what you want to do. Yeah. Regardless if it's your kid or not. So with that, you probably be the even though that you're the victim of your kid being taken, you're going to go through any lengths possible, even taking somebody else's kid, just so you can get your own kid back.
But at the same token, I'm also going to try to do anything I can to stop whoever's doing this. I'm going to try to find, I would be the person trying to find a source at the same time. I'd be doing the necessary evil for the necessary good, but at the same time trying to find the source of the issue and taking that person out.
That's what I would be doing as well, but I think I would actually take the child and then go on ahead. Once I'm confronted with that person, take them out.
So, I mean, that's just where, like I said, that's just where my brain goes, honestly.
Okay.
I can't help it.
Let's see here. I don't know. Did you want to talk any more about that or no?
No, that's the only thing I have on. I'm interested to see it. I really am. I am all in to see it. But at the same time, I know in my own headspace, I know exactly what I'm going to be thinking as I'm watching it. I'll be putting myself in that character's shoes and like, okay, so you're doing this, but I would do that instead. Because I'm just that type of moviegoer where I analyze as I'm watching. And it's like, but could you have done that better? Like,
another thing I want to talk about is, you remember a little book that was by Scholastic called Animorphs?
Yes.
They're actually making a movie. They're actually making a movie.
I've heard, and I'm of the opinion that it doesn't need to be done. I wasn't a fan of the books, if you can't tell.
Well, I was a fan. I actually read the books back when I was younger and everything too. Aside from Goosebumps, which is actually one of my other favorite series as a kid growing up reading R.L. Stine. But then one of my friends discovered Animorphs. I'm like, you know what? Let me go in and check this thing out. And next thing you know, what, I wound up buying several books on it. The only thing is, this reminds me of whenever they did Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, when they were saying that they were going to make a live action adaptation of Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. Is the fact that we're all grown up now. kids today are not going to know what Animorphs are or anything like that unless we introduce the future to the kids to what we grew up on. That will be the only way that kids in a 2020 world will actually know what Animorphs is and everything. I just don't see this movie being successful or anything like that, with the fact that it's been so long since we actually got an Animorphs TV series. And then also, too, I don't even know if they're still publishing Animorphs books anymore.
I don't know if they are. I'll find out.
Because if they are, then I would say, okay, then there's actually a market for an Animorphs movie versus not having any type of source material other than the stuff from the 1990s and the 90s. So that's all that I could think of, is the fact that I don't see this actually being a success like they think it is. But
May
I
of
could be wrong. It's not gonna be... Okay, so
May 2001 was the last one.
All right, so you have a lot of books that you had from the 90s all the way up to 2001. But even then, the kids that are from 2001 are now grown up.
Yep.
So how do you actually introduce this movie into a 2020 world with Animorphs? The best way that you can actually do it is through a Netflix TV series versus doing a movie.
Oh, yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that 110%. I mean, you want to take a 90s property and throw it out there that people thought was going to be successful, and it ended up, I wouldn't say it flopped, but it was mediocre, and it's remembered for Krispy Kreme, and that's the Power Rangers reboot. Everybody thought, oh, well, the kids still watch Power Rangers, it's on Nickelodeon, blah, 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 it'll work. And it's like, it didn't work so well. Personally, I liked it. I think what they did with the material was really good, because they went all the way back to the old school 93 Mighty Morphin, and it's like, yeah, okay, I can see that spin. I like the fact that we got the Zordon backstory. I like the fact that we got Arena backstory, which we kind of really didn't get in the series.
Right.
But it was mediocre. And it's like, that was a pretty good gut shot. 90s properties seem not to transfer very well in movie format for one reason or another.
Not. Especially when you look at Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, which I knew was going to be a PG-13 movie, which has nothing to do with it being good or not, but it's the way that they decided to go about it, is the direction of the film that I had issues with.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's going to be the same thing with this, whereas the direction goes, and it may not have aged well within the book pages itself, I'm not that excited for it. I'm really not. I mean, it's been years since I picked up an Animorphs book and everything and tried reading it and everything, so I don't know if I'm even going to go see it.
They had us reading them in middle school for light reading, just because that's how they had our classes set up. I just wasn't a fan. But I'll tell you right now, I'd read any of them books over the Tale of Two Cities. That book, oh my god, Tale of Two Cities is so bad.
I remember reading that book.
Oh my god. I still have nightmares about that.
That was a
book.
rough read. That was a rough read.
Oh yeah.
But that's all that I have for movie news, though, as far as things go.
And I agree with you, though, that should be a series on Netflix or a series on HBO Max. It should not be. It shouldn't be a movie.
I agree, and not only that, but I hope they don't try and do like $150 million budget like they did with Batman vs Superman.
Oh,
they think they can actually make their money back.
They will,
because it's going to be harder than hell to make that money back with a $150 million budget, especially whenever you're dealing with a 2020 world.
Oh yeah, especially a post-COVID world.
Right. But you know, we're not the ones who's running the show, so.
Yep. All right. So the next thing that I have on the docket is that J.J. Abrams is asking Lucasfilms to re-release the pre-1997 unspecial editions of the original trilogy. I don't get behind much of what J.J. does, but I'm behind this because I think the special editions actually hurt the original trilogy.
Mm.
And am I in the vocal minority here, or am I in the vocal majority? I have no idea, but I've always felt that way.
To be honest with you, I mean,
apparently Larry agrees with me because he's pretty vocal about it right there.
Yep.
So
I would like to actually see them release the original trilogy, not the, you know what I'm saying? I would like to actually see it, the uncut trilogy of it.
my understanding. My question is why is this a thing? Like, why can't we have the original and we can't have the special edition, and you let the consumer or the audience decide which one they like better, which one they want?
Right.
Because I would go out and I'd buy the pre-special edition set long before I would buy the special edition set.
I would like to actually, here's the thing, I actually own the Blu-ray set, or did own the Blu-ray set, but I would like to actually own the original trilogy on the Blu-ray set. Everything, so the way I could at least have both sets to compare the two on.
I mean, I get that they have Anakin as Hayden Christensen at the end of Jedi. I could see why they did that. At the same time, I still don't like it. I don't like that at all.
Right. To be honest with you, the prequels never really did anything for me other than the pod racing. You know?
Yeah.
The pod racing and the battle against Darth Maul was one of the two things that I really loved about Phantom Menace.
You can never go wrong with Duel of the Fates. Duel of the Fates is absolutely fucking amazing.
Right. But I don't want to see a pre-1997 special edition. Now, as far as the original trilogy goes, like I was saying, I would like to see the original cut of the original trilogy versus a...
Yeah, that's what JJ's asking for. JJ wants that. He's asking for the same thing you're asking for. He doesn't want the special editions. He wants the original cuts. That's what he's asking.
What I want. Right, I don't want no special editions from the prequels either. Though either, you know what I'm saying? I don't want none of that either. Because I don't want to remember the prequels.
I just find it very, very interesting that JJ is asking for the, as he calls them, the unspecial editions. Brandy comes out and says, "My oldest daughter loves The Rise of Skywalker." Now, Brandy, I have a question for you. Did you see the, somebody put together, and I absolutely love this video. Somebody put together the part, and this is going to go slightly spoiler, so if anybody's watching this video and hasn't seen Rise of Skywalker yet, one, you're probably like one of 5 people that haven't seen it yet. And 2, just, I guess, skip ahead 5 or 10 minutes, I guess. But my question is, did you see the video where Rey and the Emperor are going head-to-head with each other, and they're saying, one says, well, the Emperor says, "I'm all the Sith," Rey says, "I'm all the Jedi," but she has Anakin, Yoda, Obi-Wan, and and Luke behind her when she's fighting the Emperor as Force Ghost. Because I think if they would have done that, that would have been absolutely epic. And I'm kind of disappointed that the person didn't put Qui-Gon Jinn in, because one, I'm kind of partial to Qui-Gon Jinn. He's my favorite Jedi. But, yeah, it is what it is.
I agree.
I think if they would have went and they would have put the Force Ghost behind her, I think it would have made more of an impact in that moment. Do I like the film in its entirety? It was severely rushed. I will say that. The book, I listened to the book on audiobooks, and I like the book a lot. It gives a lot of detail. And things that happen in between the scenes, and I think you would have benefited to see that on screen, a lot of the detail, and we didn't get it, unfortunately.
I was let down with the whole Snoke thing, not Snoke, but Palpatine thing. I wanted to know.
That's the details.
That's what I was.
That's the details in the book. With him, it actually goes into his thought process from Jedi. They actually go back in time to Jedi for a brief moment as he's falling down the shaft, about how he was remembering that they did testing and doing the clones and trying to remember how to do the Sith transfer of his mental status to another body, and they go through all that detail of like how he got to where he is in this film. That's the moment we needed, that moment in the film, because that moment explains so much, instead of having Kylo go and say, "So how are you not dead?" and he basically just goes, "Reasons." It's like,
I think we would have had that.
No, not reasons.
Well, I think we would have had that if JJ would have directed the second movie and then tied it into the third film, to where he can go back, or at least have Luke's hand and make that a part of it, and then going back to that time.
Well, yeah, because that was supposed to be Force Awakens. That was supposed to be the opening shot of Force Awakens, was seeing Luke's hand floating through space.
Right. And I think if they would have actually put Luke's hand in this one, I think it would have been perfect to actually put Luke's hand in this one, and then have like a flashback of everything that happened back then, and then have it flashed in this time period and do it that way.
I don't know. We can Monday quarterback that all we want, to be honest. I mean, it's not going to change anything of what we got. It's just, it could have been done better. I'll just say that much. And it's great, Brandy, that your daughter loves that movie. I mean, I'm not going to hold anything against that. I love Last Jedi, and I get a lot of shit for it. But I love it, and I love it for one reason. I love it for the fact of when he's teaching Rey about the Force, and the line of "breathe, just breathe." Like that line, it resonates in my core so much. And I'll take all the shit in the world for loving that movie, but Last Jedi for me is the best Star Wars movie other than Rogue One. So, but Brandy, I see that you said that you haven't seen that video yet. By all means, you need to watch that video. It's amazing. It's floating around on Facebook and on Twitter. That's where I've been seeing it a lot. I'm sure if you did a YouTube search for it, you would find it as well. Just put in Rey versus Palpatine Force Ghost. I'm sure you'll find it on YouTube. So, but yeah, I found that very interesting that JJ is asking for the original cuts, and I don't understand why that's not a thing already. I don't understand why it never was a thing after the special editions. But I'm sure it has something to do with George, because, you know, George is a little finicky like that. Sorry, I kind of went on a rant there.
That's like a light rant, though. I've seen you rant worse, though.
Oh, yeah. I mean, do we need to talk about the start of the year, one of my first videos? Or it's not even a video.
No.
It was one of my first audios. I know you know which one I'm talking about.
Yes, I do.
On that note, though, I wanted to get your reaction to the Snyder Cut teaser trailer that we got that was a surprise to everybody. I don't know if you saw it or not.
Yeah, I did. I love the fact that we actually get a little bit now of Darkseid now. We actually know what we're facing. I love the whole entire thing with Gal Gadot actually running into Darkseid. So the symbolization of the fact that this thing was actually true all along, and now we're actually seeing the pieces that were actually cut out of the film and everything. It's just fantastic. It made me excited. I had goosebumps on it. I tweeted out about it. I mean, I was blown away with it and everything. And I know it's like a 30-second short, but for that 30 seconds, we actually know what was actually missing out of that film that actually needed it. It was the meat and potatoes of Justice League that we actually needed.
Exactly.
And everything. And it just goes to show you what Warner Brothers did with on the editing floor.
Yeah, and I even went and I said, because I was watching it when I was on my lunch break the day that it dropped, and I said out loud, and there was people in the break room, I said, now that's the Justice League that we were missing. That's the Justice League we should have got. And I think, I don't know the background of where he's at when they do that zoom in and they pan up. I want to say that's Apocalypse. I could be wrong. Maybe it's either Apocalypse or it's a post-destructive Earth. It's one of the two. It has to be one of the two.
I want to say that it's probably going to be Apocalypse more than anything.
It looks like Apocalypse.
Would actually, because if you think about it, it makes sense for it to be Apocalypse because of the fact that you have Darkseid.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Now, are we keeping Steppenwolf in this one? That'll be interesting to see if we keep him. Because normally where Darkseid is, Steppenwolf is the far behind, at least if I remember correctly. I could be wrong, but I think that's how it works. Basically, Steppenwolf is basically Darkseid's Silver Surfer to Galactus.
Yeah, I'm wondering that myself, though, if they're actually going to keep Steppenwolf in there or not. I don't want to see him going after the mother boxes and everything. Mother! I do not want to see that.
Yeah, that whole bit where he was saying that it's like the whole Mary scene out of Batman versus Superman. Like repeat over and over and over and over again.
Right, I agree. I don't want to see Steppenwolf. I'd much rather just see Darkseid and let him be the primary villain.
Yeah.
And then if they want to go on ahead and incorporate him again, Steppenwolf, into a second Justice League movie and try and do it right, I'm okay. I'm fine with that too. But my thing is, I know that they did Deathstroke. And I know that Magneto was going to be Deathstroke, but my thing is, if there is a way to actually tie in Robert Pattinson's Batman, let Ben Affleck be Batman one more time, even though I'm afraid with the whole alcoholism thing that he went through during that time. But let him be Batman one more time. Let him meet Ra's al Ghul. Basically, what would happen is Deathstroke, him and Deathstroke wind up fighting down to the bone, pretty much, where Batman's on his deathbed, and the only way for him to actually be young again is for him to be in the Lazarus pit,
and have that be where Robert Pattinson takes the mantle.
Yep.
Yeah,
and that would be the way to connect it.
I could see that, but does the Lazarus pit make you young again, or does it just bring you back to life? Because I thought it just brought you back to life.
I think it does. I want to say it does, besides bring you back to life.
I'm not well versed in my DC stuff. I mean, I know some of the big cliff notes, but I'm not going to sit here. Like, if you put me in the Schmodown and you said you're going to be asked DC questions across the board, it's like, yep, see you in the parking lot, dudes. Because now you put me up against somebody and it's all straight MCU questions, they'll be like, I'm game. Let's do this.
I'm good with DC and MCU stuff. So,
and yes, Larry, I just told you a weakness.
so what else you got?
Well, I see that Larry responded to that. Anyhow, something that dropped here a couple days ago, actually. I have the article right here. Once I get my cursor back. Scoob is hitting HBO Max this upcoming Friday. Which makes me really, really, really happy that I did not go and I run it on any streaming platform, because now I get to watch it on HBO Max. So I'll wait another week.
I'm excited that we're actually going to get Scoob on it, because I was wanting to watch it for myself. I don't have kids or anything like that, so I wanted to try and check out Scoob myself and see how the animation was, because I remember Harloff saying that he didn't like the animation style in it, but I wanted to see it for myself on how the animation was actually set up.
See, I'm worried I'm going to have the same issue, because I love Scooby-Doo and I love the animation style of the show, like the original show. And this is pure CGI. Like, it's obvious just even by the picture that I'm seeing here. Like, it's just pure CGI. But it's just, I have to see it in action before I put my final word on that. So,
right.
I hope that I don't have the same feeling. I hope the story's good. My favorite Scooby-Doo show or film is Scooby-Doo and the Witch's Ghost.
That's a good one.
Love that film. Larry, I did watch the Scoob trailer, but I actually want to see it in the film itself, because it could look one way in the trailer, even animation, and it could look completely different in the film.
I feel the same way you do, because I want to actually see it in its full context versus a 1 minute, 2 minute trailer. Because don't get me wrong, back whenever we got the Spider-Verse movie, I was thrown off with the animation style and the way it was whenever we first see the trailer. So I'm like, okay, I don't think I want to see this. Then, they went on ahead, they adjusted the animation to where they needed to have it, and the next thing you know, I wanted to check out Spider-Verse. Now with this, I'm actually wanting to see how they actually do it in its full context. Because of the fact that with the animation style that they decided to use, I'm kind of iffy on how they do it, because it kind of looks like a block style animation style kind of thing. That is actually kind of something that actually throws me off to the point where I'm kind of turned off by it. But at the same time, it's a Scooby-Doo movie, so therefore that makes me even more optimistic about it. But at the same time, I'm kind of lukewarm on both ends.
Yeah, see, I'm kind of the same way. It's like, I don't know. I want to have a good time watching it. That's my thing. I want to have a good time watching it. Say what you will about the live action Scooby-Doos. First one was okay. The second one was trash. There's a reason that the third one didn't get made. But I'm also reading here.
The second one I didn't really care for either, especially what they decided to do with Scrappy-Doo.
Well, yeah, Scrappy-Doo wasn't even the second one, if I recall correctly, was he?
I want to say he was. I thought he was like the bad guy or something.
No, that was the first one.
Scrappy the first one. Okay.
The first one.
Okay.
The second one, I don't think Scrappy was even mentioned then.
Okay, it's been years since I've seen the live action Scooby-Doo movies. So please excuse me for getting that one wrong. I will not make it on a schmodown for that one.
Also, apparently, Warner Brothers is going to have an event in September, because they're teasing via a set of videos on Instagram. This is from the same article. Some major September announcements for The Goonies, Sherlock Holmes, and Beetlejuice, but unclear what the announcement is. Though it's likely that all three films will score a 4K UHD release. 2 of the 3 have already been announced. So, I know Sherlock Holmes 3 was supposed to start filming or start script writing or something here in the
they were supposed to
near
start
future.
script writing.
So I can't wait for Sherlock Holmes 3. I love Robert Downey Jr. as Sherlock Holmes.
And I think that's going to make him come back to where he was. Now that he doesn't have the MCU now, I think now is the right time for him to actually do another Sherlock movie. Because all his other movies have not been making that much money. Look at Doolittle and look at The Judge. Those two films
was great, though. I don't understand why that movie didn't make more money. That movie was
Judge is great. Right, I agree with you on that. It's just that the box office, I'm looking at it from box office numbers.
Oh, I know. Numbers talk more than opinions.
Right, because I love The Judge. I watch it every single time it comes on DirecTV. That's how much I loved it. It's just the whole fact that it didn't make that much money at the box office. And every single movie that it seems like RDJ tries to make, it doesn't do that great because it's not Iron Man or anything. The last movies that he actually struck home with is Sherlock Holmes. So it would make sense for him to actually go back and do another Sherlock movie and then maybe make another comedy or something to get that stardom back again.
Yeah. But yeah, that was interesting to see that they were already bringing Scoob to HBO Max, which is a great move on HBO Max's part, by the way.
Agreed.
So now we're going to go into the realm of sports news. And the next topic that we had here was the NFL remains positive for I really worded this headline wrong. I'm reading this. NFL remains positive for upcoming season despite the rash of positive COVID cases among teams. Wow.
You want me to get another doing the headline?
I was like, that does not sound good. Oopsie. Where's that Mortal Kombat guy at when you need him?
But I do have to say this. I think this is another one of those cases where it's actually stupid to actually have an NFL season, especially when you look at the college teams for the NCAA football teams. Because LSU, the whole team, got tested for coronavirus just recently.
Mm-hmm. Well, we were talking about this in the green room scenario right before as we were testing our setup here for the night. That I don't understand why baseball isn't bad because it's the least contact sport that we have, and yet football's going to try to make a go of it. And it's the most contact sport that we have.
Right.
Like I don't understand. So if football's willing to give it a shot, I mean, the baseball players, they should be looking at the NFL and be like, that's interesting. Yeah, how many times do we actually come in contact with each other normally? I mean, other than us slapping each other on the ass. Which I don't, as a former baseball player, I absolutely hated that part of the game. Every time somebody did that to me, I always looked at them like, you ever do that again, I'm going to put this bat so far up your ass.
I agree on that. I mean,
I
love baseball. Huh?
Not a fan of that at all.
No. I feel like, they just need to go on ahead and cancel football altogether for this year.
It doesn't
make sense. No, it really doesn't. Don't get me wrong. I'd like to have sports, but I think that they need to go on ahead and not worry about it.
Yeah, Larry says, I think NFL is going to go ahead because they're planning a full season from the start. Major League Baseball is stuck over a short season, and I agree. But at the same time, you take one sport, which is literally crack the bat, hit the ball, catch the ball, tag the person out with the glove. What's the worst you're going to do? 5-second timeout, Lysol your glove.
Or your baseball bat.
Yeah, or your baseball bat. I mean, so you take the pros and the cons of both. I would think you have more pros to get baseball on track than you do to have the NFL come back. There's a reason the XFL canceled the rest of their season, and the process ended up tanking again, unfortunately for Vince. Because I actually think the XFL would have had legs this time. I think it actually would have worked this time. But at the same token, COVID killed it. I feel bad for Vince, and I don't say that very often. That was just a bad case scenario. If Vince could have looked in a crystal ball and looked at 2020 and be like, oh, COVID's going to hit. I'm going to push XFL back 2 years. I think he would have done it. It just doesn't make sense to put people in that scenario. Where in baseball, there's very little contact with another person.
The only people that are actually pretty not spaced out is the umpire and the catcher. Those are the only two people that are like really close up to each other.
Home umpire.
Everybody else is all spread out.
Yeah, because everybody else can be 6 feet apart. It's not an issue. And if you look at the way the baseball field's set up, most of them are set up 6 feet apart, if not further away.
Exactly.
You have nobody in between first and second, and you have a shortstop in between third and second, and they're all spaced apart very, very far away from each other for an infield standard. And you have the three out in the outfield that are really, really spread out apart. So social distancing isn't an issue there.
No, definitely not. So, like I said, it would make more sense to actually have a baseball season than to have the NFL. I understand where Larry's coming from, where they actually already are remaining optimistic with the fact that they want to have their seasons. But at the same time, you have to keep your people safe. You gotta keep your players safe. Otherwise, who's going to play next year?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? They're going to have to do something with their contract to try and readjust their contracts if they decide to cancel a whole entire season.
Yep. I mean, I get it.
You know?
The baseball players are saying, oh, we want to get paid. Well, yeah, obviously you want to get paid. You don't want to go to work and not get paid. But at the same token, you're going to have to take a pro rate. You're going to have to take a pro rate because of the short season. You're going to have to take another pro rate because there's not going to be anybody in the stands. And teams are not going to be able to afford these extravagant contracts. I mean, it's common sense. You either play or you don't. And if you don't play, you don't get paid. At least you shouldn't get paid at all if you don't play.
I agree.
Larry comes up and says, what do you do with all the draft picks in the next draft? Well, the same question could be said for Major League Baseball. Major League Baseball has a draft. What do you do? How do you figure that out? It's the same problem.
There's always a solution.
Do you just go with the old, like the year before, and just do things that way again? Or like, that's a good question, Larry. I don't know what you do because Major League Baseball is in the same scenario.
Right.
NBA is in the same scenario until they get their tournament kicked off at Disney World. NHL, I believe, has the same scenario for the draft.
Yep. Everyone has the same kind of scenario for each team, each sport.
League. Yeah.
Yeah, for each league. That's what I'm basically saying. But that's actually a good question. I wouldn't know what to do because I don't know shit about how to manage the leagues or anything like that, you know? But
I mean, we're just
maybe they
talking
have
from a fan perspective, but that's, as a fan, that's a very good question. Like, what do you do for the draft? How do you do the picks? Because it's all done by the win and loss record. still hear me, John?
Yeah, I can. I can still hear you and everything. I just don't have anything really to add to that, though. That's got me stumped.
Yeah, I mean, if anybody has an idea, by all means, present it, because Major League Baseball is in a bad way right now. Like, they are, I would say they're even in a worse case scenario than what they were after the 94 strike.
Right.
And the 94 strike is the lowest point in baseball history. So, like, what do you... I mean, there's an idea, turn it into a lottery. I mean, that's about, logistically, that's probably about the only thing that would make sense. Yeah, I know NASCAR's doing that with doing the qualifying for races. They're not doing qualifying. They're drawing lottery out of a hat or lottery out of a box. I mean, whatever number you pick is the number that you start. So, I mean, I guess that's the way you could do it. But I'm sure this conversation isn't done. This is going to be a conversation leading all the way up to even preseason games. So I'm sure we'll come back to this, but there's a big rash of cases that is why this is coming to light right now.
Right.
And like you said, the LSU team has the whole team. The whole damn team is got this shit. So, and that's college. So what do you do there? College football is going to have the same problem.
So really, if you think about it, the NFL is having if college is having the same problem as the NFL and everything, you might as well just go in and cancel the draft. You cancel the football, and then go into it next year.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure these conversations are being had in New York with the NFL and the NBA and wherever all these leagues are headquartered at. I'm sure behind closed doors, commissioners and the owners are having conversation. I'm sure some of the most top tier elite players are involved, and I'm sure some of the top tier elite players from yesteryear are involved in these conversations across in all the sports leagues. So I'm sure we're not the only ones having these conversations. But Larry, that's a very good question. I never even thought about with the draft. You got us both stumped on that one. So congrats. But another big story in sports world is that I haven't actually watched the docuseries yet, but I do plan on watching it, and I want to watch it even more now because of this, is the Undertaker went and announced his retirement on the end of the Last Ride docuseries. So it sounded like we've seen the last of the Undertaker with WrestleMania 36. And I also found out reading the article that his brother died while they were taping that match.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So talk about double whammy.
And here's the thing. I mean, I know that he made a couple announcements in the past that he was retiring, right? Or was that official retiring, or is this more finalized than last time?
Pretty much a finalized thing. Granted, he did leave the door open a little bit where he went and said it's up to Vince because I'm on a 15-year contract with him. I'm on it for another 15 years.
Okay.
That's a long-ass contract.
That is a long contract, but The Undertaker has always been one of my favorite wrestlers. I know that I've said that before on here, but it seems like I'm always attached to like the dark characters when it comes down to wrestling, like Sting. Yeah. I love Sting. I love Kane. I love The Undertaker. I remember actually having an Undertaker action figure and everything back in the 90s and everything. The Undertaker has always been one of my favorite characters, and he's put in a lot of time and a lot of effort into doing what he does. I do appreciate his time and his service over into the WWF, and also whenever he transferred into the WWE. He's also did the whole entire thing where he was the Undertaker, and then after that he became what did they call him whenever he was doing the motorcycle bit?
American Badass.
The American Badass bit that they did. I mean, he transformed through different styles of progression for his character each time. So I really have to commend him over the last 40 years, basically, of him doing wrestling. That's just fantastic. That's dedication.
The Army of
Right there.
Darkness.
Yep.
American Badass. Probably his most well-known moment is throwing McFoley off the cage.
Yep, that's the one I remember the most. That's the one that stuck with me the most. But
yeah, and Larry said about the good old days with Kane and Undertaker. I remember Kane's appearance in when he first showed up. And honestly, I was expecting the Undertaker to wait to make an announcement. I think maybe he'll make an in-ring announcement at Survivor Series this year. I could see that because it's the anniversary. I can't remember. 30? Yeah, it'd be 30 years because he made his first appearance in 1990, I believe it was. So, that's where I would have expected the official announcement to come from, not from a docuseries, but considering the fact that the pandemic, I can kind of see why they did it this way if it's officially locked in that he's done. So
I believe it now that he's actually retiring, opposed to those other times. So that's why I'm trying to, just say goodbyes to him and, and go from there, because the guy did put in a lot of years and we grew up with him. So he paid his dues.
And Larry, you say 15 years that you'll be 47 when his contract's up. How do you think he feels? 15 years, the guy's 55, so he's going to be 70.
He'll be just as old as Sylvester Stallone and Expendables, if you think about it.
He's going to be Ric Flair age when his contract's up.
Yep.
So,
but he can be doing
how do you think Taker feels? There's moments in life where you say, should have done that differently, and mistakes were made. I think unless depending on what he's going to do behind the scenes, because I can see him definitely being an ambassador for WWE. I could definitely see him in the back of his head saying mistakes were made, and I shouldn't have done that when he signed that contract. And I'm sure the money ain't bad.
Oh, I'm sure it's not.
So, I don't know. I don't like the idea of looking at it and being like, hey, I'll be 70 when this contract's up. It's like, But yeah, so with that being said, that's the end of sports news.
Okay.
How are you doing for time there? Are you
good?
For
me, to be honest with you, I got to be up early tomorrow with things, especially with work. So right. I'm going to go on ahead and I'm going to let you finish out. But next week, when we do the recording for the one-on-one, I'll definitely have more time and everything too. So, yeah. This has been a good episode. I do appreciate you letting me be on and everything with you as always and everything for this. So, further ado, if anybody wants to reach out to me or want to follow me, you can check me out at Movie Lovers Unite, TV Lovers Unite on all social media. And also, of course, you can check me out at Movie Lovers Unite on all podcast platforms as well. So, and until next time. Bye-bye.
All right, and I got your information up here on the banner too, so that way people can give you a look and get familiar with your content as well. Also, don't forget to check him out on audio podcast too, because he does some really badass interviews. So
Thank you, man. I do appreciate that.
I listen to them at night when I'm at work. So it helps me pass the time as I'm doing all the sanitation.
I appreciate the support, man.
My fingers are showing the war scars from sanitation because of the damn chemicals. So, just me now and you as the audience. There isn't much more left to talk about. We have some gaming news that I wanted to touch on. I was going to get John's opinion on the Squadrons reveal trailer. It just basic overhaul for me is it looks great. I love playing these types of games, and I'm looking forward to it. And I probably will not get it until the new consoles come out and I have them. So, anybody in the comments here, let me know what you guys think of the Squadrons trailer, because I really don't have anything to say. I want to see gameplay. This is all cinematic. I want to see gameplay before I really get an opinion here on this. So, just as a cinematic as a whole, I'm looking forward to it. Otherwise, we'll just have to wait and see. I'm just going to kind of blow through these here real quick because I'm not very good at doing solo content. I haven't honed that part of podcasting yet. But Cyberpunk 2077 has been delayed until November, which probably puts it out after the consoles come out, because there's rumored that consoles are going to come out in late October instead of late November. So it'll be interesting to see how this works out. I also heard rumor too that if you had it pre-order for PS4, you'll get a free upgrade to PS5. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what I've heard in passing. Anybody that likes anime and has a Nintendo Switch, there is a port of Jump Force coming in Japan and Asia on August 27th, and then the United States and Europe on August 28th. So anybody that loves Shonen Jump and hasn't been able to play this game yet because it hasn't been on the Switch console, it's coming in a couple of months. And speaking of anime, One Piece and Digimon Adventure 2020 are set to resume new episodes this upcoming week on June 28th. With that, that's pretty much everything in a nutshell for today's episode. I mean, as I said before, I'm not good at solo content yet, so I apologize for the last 5 minutes or so of this video being rushed, but it is what it is. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and also follow me at hotel_nerd86. You can also talk to me directly right there on that Twitter handle as well, so don't be shy to send me a direct message. I'll definitely reply to you when I have the time to do so. I try to get back to any and all I can't even talk right. Conversations that are being had that address me directly. Unfortunately, I'm only one person and I can only respond to so many, but if you send me a direct message, I will definitely get back to you. But with that being said, I hope you all enjoyed tonight's episode. I hope you all had a good Father's Day, and well, as good as you can right now with the pandemic. And remember, next week there is no live episode. It'll be a pre-recorded episode. It goes up Saturday night. So no live chats or anything of that sort like usual. So in a couple of weeks, hopefully I'll be able to do another live video with John, and maybe we'll have somebody lined up by that point in time. Until then, have a good night. Enjoy, and we'll see you next time.